Hey everyone, I'm Tony Rost, CTO at Metaltoad, and today I'm with Julie Scott, who is one of the best product leaders I've ever met in my career, and we're debriefing AWS Reinvent. Julie, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Tony. Thank you.
So tell me about AWS Reinvent. What are some of the sessions you went to?
Two sessions stand out to me. One of them is the keynote session, the first session by Andy Jassy. I'm always excited to see Andy Jassy because I admire his really aggressive customer-first approach to all of the products throughout Amazon Web Services. And he talks about it a lot. So I was excited from a product perspective, excited to hear what he had to say. This year, I think his session was particularly compelling. He started off with a really bold statement about diversity and the need for the country to embrace diversity and to continue incorporating diversity in technology, but also throughout every aspect of business and life in America. So I thought that was a great opening statement. And the theme of his keynote this year was all about reinvention, which I thought was a really nice tie-in to the actual conference theme, which is reinvent.
Nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
And then what was the other session that you had a big takeaway from?
The other session was the state of media security. So as it is with reInvent, when you're there, a session name might not be, super sexy, but when you sit down and listen to the panel of speakers, it's actually really compelling. And I thought this one was particularly interesting because the panel of industry leaders that were interviewed included somebody that that works at Fox, Melody Hildenbrand, sorry. And she was joined by somebody from HBO Max and somebody from MGM. And they had a great discussion around security and the need for innovation and bringing the two together, and how particularly important it was now, being a part of a broadcast organization and a streaming service like HBO Max, how important that was now to really start innovating and not be held back by things like security, for example. And then incorporating security into the customer experience. And there was a great catchphrase, securing the consumer experience, that they all kind of thought was fantastic and kind of a way that they're moving forward, the North Star.
So Julie, since AWS reInvent, what are some of the ideas and concepts you wanted to bring back to our customers?
A couple of things that I really stood out for me. One of them was around agility and being able to adapt to changes. So particularly important last year when so many companies floundered at the idea of remote work and everything digital. So those people who were on the fence to move into cloud computing, those enterprises that were still, thinking about accelerating or thinking about adding cloud computing to their timelines or their roadmaps, were actually forced into it, and forced into it in a way that wasn't necessarily the best way to plan it out and be thoughtful around moving into the cloud. So I think that the idea of being adaptable, building organizations around innovation and reinvention. I thought that was a great message from Andy Jassy. And we know that when we work with clients that we do that all the time. But I think the message is really clear that moving forward, enterprises will have to incorporate from the leadership down to the engineering teams and product teams, will have to introduce the idea of innovation and reinvention as a path forward. A couple of examples and case studies that I really enjoyed. Well, Andy Jassy mentioned Airbnb. Airbnb last year, when travel all but stopped around the globe, saw their value drop from 31 billion to 18 billion. They laid off a quarter of their workforce and were forced to think about, are we going down? Is this going to, is this the end of Airbnb, or are we going to reinvent? And so what they did was cut all marketing spend, and then all they did was add a designation to their website around cleanliness on their properties, and realizing that their customers actually wanted to travel but just didn't want to get on a plane doing it. So staycations and staying close to home became an option for people, and Airbnb now continued through 2020 and IPO'd in December and are now back to being valued at 31 billion. They have a classic Amazon Web Services stack. They utilize all of the basic Amazon Web Services that you would think, EC2, S3, and other things, CloudWatch, for example. So innovating to them was easier because they had already moved completely into cloud computing. I thought that was a great message. Reinvention is a part of your culture moving forward. So I think that's something that I'll definitely take and make sure that I have that in the back of my mind and talk about when we work with our clients.
That's great. Julie, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me today.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Happy to talk about Reinvent.
Awesome. Thank you.